welcome to Game Design. What we're going to do today is we're going to do the Icebreaker game, the second game in the series. But before we begin the Icebreaker games, you need to have the downloaded resources so you can put up your backgrounds and objects that you use in the game. So if you haven't done this already, you need to go to the course overview section. You need to go down to 1.04, download resources and zip assignments. You need to go down to download resources. And you can always check the video out here, or you can click on the link to download the course resources, which of course takes you to another link. And then this is the actual download. So if you've done this, you should download the game design resources folders, and when you unzip it, it will look like this. I suggest you make a folder for it called game design or whatever you'd like, and you put a copy where you can locate it along with your other classes. So you open up Project 2, and they have a sample Icebreakers game here. So you can double click that and you can play a game of the Icebreakers so you can see how it's supposed to work, and that really helps you put things together. You might have the Clickteam Fusion 2.5 start button on your desktop, or you might have to dig for it. If you have to dig for it, click on your start button, go to all programs, go to your Clickteam Fusion 2.5 and click the button. And this should open up your button, open up your project. So what you do here is you open a new game, go File, New. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 more frames. So go Insert, New Frame, Insert, New Frame. So I'm going to call the first frame here Start. I'm going to rename frame 2 Game. And I'm going to rename frame 3 End. Okay, so it's a right click, rename, and then whatever you want to call it. So the next thing I'm going to do, I have my libraries up here. I want to turn on my library toolbar. So I'm going to go View, Toolbars, and I'm going to go to the library window. Once again, View, View Menu, Toolbars, Library Window. Okay, now you might have it on auto hide. That means that you have to hover over this to see it. I think you want to keep it up. So what you do is you go over here to the pin button and pin it open. So that'll keep it open for you. Next, I want to open up the Icebreakers library. So underneath where it says Local Library, I right click, click New. So I navigate to my folder that has my if you haven't done this yet, you might as well download your course resources like I said at the beginning. Okay? Just pause this and go do it because you're going to need these backgrounds. So now I'm going to navigate to where I've downloaded my course resources. I go into my game design folder, and we're in Project 2. So I double click Project 2. I double click the Icebreakers library and click OK. Now I'm going to name this new library Icebreakers Library. Why? Because it's going to look like this red button. I might mistake it for my game. I don't want to hand in the library instead of my game. Okay, So I double click this and I get this little red bubble up here. This is Icebreakers library. Double click that open. Now you can see all my game objects down here, okay? These are all the game objects. So I can double click any of them to look at them. Okay, there's the snowball. Here's the game backdrop. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to put the game backdrop, the start backdrop on the start frame. So I double click up here and I take my start backdrop and I line it up visually, or what I can do is I can right click, align in frame, hurrah center. Right click, align in frame, vert center. Okay, and of course I want to lock it so I don't accidentally move it. Right click, lock. The next thing I do is I go and I put my game backdrop in. So I double click on game. I pull up my game backdrop and I can line it up with visually, putting it on the dotted lines here, or I can do it this way. Right click, align in frame, hurrah center. Right click, align in frame, vert center. And then of course I always want to lock this so I don't accidentally move it. So last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the end frame here. I'm going to put the end backdrop up here. So I drag up the end backdrop. Now see, you just drag it till it lines up. Or once again you can right click, align in frame, hurrah center. Right click, align in frame, vert center. And then of course you always lock it. So I'm going to go back to the start backdrop up, start button up here, okay? In the start frame, we're going to put a start button. How about? So here's our start button here, and I'm going to drag it up here. Doesn't matter where you put it. I like to put it in the snow so people can see it. And now I'm going to go into my event editor. So I go View, Event Editor. Because I want something to happen when the player clicks on that start button. So he's going to click on something with the mouse. So I can click New Condition. Here's the mouse, right? The mouse. User clicks on an object. So I'm clicking on choosing the mouse. User clicks on an object. He's choosing the left button. Single click yes. So the only thing you can click on is the start button. So I just click OK. So what I want to happen when the user clicks on that button, I want him to go to the next frame. I want him to go to the game frame, right? So I click underneath the horse on top of the chessboard, which is storyboard controls. I right click that and I select next frame. So let's go into the next frame. I'm going to double click on the word game here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting my objects up here. Okay, the first object I want to put up here is my left snowboard. Okay, this is a little more difficult to eyeball. What you want to do is you want to put it on the left and you want to put it on the bottom, on the left on the bottom. Once again, it's easy to line it up this way. Right click, align in frame, left. Right click, align in frame, bottom. And I can put the right snowboard up here. I can eyeball it if I like. So I right click, align in frame, right. Right click, align in frame on the bottom. Now I've got a top snowboard that needs to go in here. So I'm going to lock both of these. Right click, lock. Right click, lock. I'm going to put in here the top snowboard. And it looks like a couple of whiskers or something. So I just drag it up here. Now once again I can eyeball it or I can line it up with the keys. So I can right click here, align in frame, hurrah center. I can right click, align in frame, top. Then of course I right click lock. There we go, we've got 3 snowboards up here. Now I need my paddle. So I put my paddle in the white area down here. And now I'm going to put some kind of a movement on the paddle. So I'm going to click it. Now once you put the mouse movement on the paddle, don't test it, okay? Because what you're going to have to do is do a Control-Alt-Delete to get out of the program, unless you put an escape clause in there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a minute here, okay? So wait before you put the action on the paddle, okay? So I'm going to click the movement, which is the running man here. I click the stop sign, the static, and I'm going to go all the way up here to mouse controlled. Okay, this is not a physical movement. Alright, this is not a movement extension. It's way up north here. It's up mouse controlled. Okay. Now I'm going to edit the paddle. So I just click edit the movement. So now I have 9 sizing handles, or actually 8, around my paddle. So I'm going to take the movement zone and extend it all the way over here to this this snowboard. Same thing with this side. I'm going to extend it all the way over. Now I'm going to skinny it up on the bottom. It makes no sense for it to be below this bottom of the stage, since once it hits the bottom of the stage, you know, you lost a life. So I'm going to drag this down so I can have a little better control in this thing. So that's a good movement zone, and I'm going to click try movement. So I'm going to see if this movement is comfortable for me. Okay. So I'm going to I try it out, see if I like it or not. Now I can change this, but once I want out of here, I just click the escape key, which is in your upper left hand corner of your keyboard, and that'll close it out. And I click OK. Once again, if I click edit movement, I've got this movement zone all the way to the paddle, the snowboard. See that? That's because the ball can go anywhere in this zone. Alright? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my event editor and create my escape clause. I go View, Event Editor, and I click New Condition. But my paddle, I'm trying to get out of trying to move this paddle, right? I want to go to the last slide. So what I do is I click keyboard upon pressing a key. I want my escape key to get me out of this. So I click escape key. So when I click the escape key, what do I want to happen? I want the game to take me to the next frame. So I right click here, next frame, right underneath the horse on top of the chessboard. Next frame. Okay? So I click pause, save. Now I'm going to run this. I'm going to call this Icebreakers. I should have done this initially. Just call it Icebreakers and click enter. That'll change this word up here to Icebreakers from application 1. Okay. Alright, so we've got this thing, and now we're going to run the game. So I can click Run Application, click Start. Now see, here's my paddle. To get out of here, I click the Escape button. Okay, and that takes me to the last page. Alright, we're all ready to throw the ball in there. So I'm going to go into the game. I just double click on Game. Now I put the ball, I like to put it in the green area so I can see it. And what I want this ball to do is I want it to bounce. So I come over here to the running man, and I click the stop sign, all the way up to bouncing ball. Not physical movement bounce, all the way up to the regular movement bounce. Okay? So I want it to go up. So I click initial direction with that fuzzy ball with the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. I click that. And I erase everything. I click that little dotted circle in the lower left. Okay, so I want it to go up. So I click up here at 8. Then I want to do 7, 6, 5. and 9, 10, and 11. I want it to use these particular directions. I want it random, so I can't, figure out where it's going to go every time. Okay, but I don't want it to go down because I don't want to lose all my lives all at once. So I just click. So now my ball has movement. So now I want to bounce the ball off the side, off the left snowboard, off the top snowboard, off the right snowboard, and off the paddle. So let's do that. I'm going to go into the View, the Event Editor. So now I'm going to click a new condition. The ball. The ball does what? It collides with another object. It's colliding with what? The left snowboard. I click OK. So what I want to happen when the ball hits the left snowboard? I want the ball to bounce. So I right click under the ball, movement, bounce. So what do I want to happen when the ball hits the right snowboard? I can drag this down here and I can right click edit. So the ball is hitting what? The right snowboard. See? I just edit that. I just changed that from the left snowboard to the right snowboard. Okay? So what do I want the ball to do? I want the ball to bounce. So just drag this down here. So now it bounces here as well. So what about the top snowboard? Once again, I can drag this down, can't I? So I right click, edit. So now I change this to the top snowboard. Click OK. So what I want to happen when the ball hits the top snowboard? I want the ball to bounce. So I drag this down to the next one, right? Very good. So now my last one I do is I drag this down, collision between the ball, and now we want the paddle, right? So I'm going to edit this one. And I say I want it to hit the second object being the paddle, right? Click OK. So when the ball hits the paddle, I want the ball to bounce as well. So I just drag that down, and there we go. There we have it. Alright, so let's play this game and see what it looks like. Hit my save button. And now I'm going to run my game. Click my start button. So there we go. When the ball hits the top paddle, it bounces, or when it hits the playing paddle, it bounces. Snowboards, okay? Okay, the game is very boring, isn't it? It does nothing. It isn't hitting anything. We're going to change that. And if the ball goes out the bottom, well, it doesn't come back. See? So we're going to change that. I'm going to click my escape key. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my game frame, double click game. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a score object. So I'm going to click insert, new object. And I'm going to click over here, all objects. I'm going to choose games. Okay, I'm going to choose a score object and click OK. So I put a score object up here. Now I can change this color, size, and text and all that, but I have to change over here the red check mark. If you click the red check mark here, you'll see player 1, numbers 9. I'm going to change the numbers to text. Now I'm going to change the size and the color, so I click on A. Here's the color. I'm going to change it from black to red. And I'm going to go and change it from Tahoma 10. I'm going to change it to 20 or 24, something like that, nice and big. Okay, and I can change my text style as well. I can come up here and I'll do, I don't know, show card graphic, and I go OK. So there we go. There's my score right here. And the other thing I'm going to add in here are lives. I'm going to add 3 lives objects. So I right click, insert object, and I choose lives. Click OK. Now I click up here as well, and I drag my hearts up here. I get 3 lives. Okay. And before we leave here, let's put up our ice cubes. This is fun. I drag my ice cube up here between kind of the armpit here of the left snowboard and the top snowboard. Okay. I'm going to right click my ice cube until I get this big menu. Then I'm going to click duplicate. See the word duplicate, not clone, duplicate. So how many rows do I want? I want 8 rows down. How many columns do I want? I want 14 across. So I click OK. Okay, if I want to center this more evenly, one thing I can do is I can click Ice Cube over here in the object tray, and I can just drag it once I get. That'll select all of them. See that? You can just drag it where you think it looks better. Alright, so I've got all my objects up. Now I'm going to go back into my event editor and make the game happen. So I'm going to go View, Event Editor. Now next thing I want to happen is I want the ball to collide with the ice cube. So I'm going to drag this down again. So I'm going to edit. Right click Edit. So this time it's hitting the ice cube. So a bunch of things are going to happen when it hits the ice cube. First, it's going to bounce. It's always going to bounce, right? But the ice cube is going to break when it hits the ice cube. So underneath the ice cube, I right click and go all the way down to destroy. Okay, so the ice cube goes away. But that's not all I want to happen. I want the player to get 100 points when he breaks an ice cube. So underneath the player, I right click, score, add to score, 100 points. So I just click 100 and I go OK. Alright. So now we have one more condition. When does a player lose a life? When it goes out on the bottom, right? And we don't have nothing yet that returns the snowball back up. So let's have a new condition here. So when the snowball position, test the position of the snowball. It's trying to go out the bottom and somewhere on the bottom, right? Click OK. So this is where the player loses a life. I right click under joystick 1, number of lives, subtract from number of lives, 1. So he's going to lose a life every time he goes out the bottom. So when it goes out the bottom, we have to return the snowball. So I right click, position, select position. So chances are I'll probably have to move the pop-up. So I want to bring this back down right on top of the ball. Okay. Then I just click OK. So when it leaves the player on the bottom, now it's going to come back there. But once again, I want to send it up. If it goes down, I might lose another life. I might lose all my lives real quick. So I'm going to send it up. I'm going to go direction. Select direction. So I'm going to erase the 0. And I could come up here to 8. So I'm also going to do 7, 6, 5, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, want it to be able to go any of these directions, but not down. Okay, don't want them to lose too fast, right? So we have it. We've set the position right on top of the old snowball, and we set the movement to go up. You see that? Those are two separate things on the same check mark. So now what happens? What happens if the player runs out of lives? We're going to go to the last screen, okay? So I'm going to set a new condition. So we're going to do player 1. Compare to player's number of lives. Is it 0? If he runs out of lives, what do we want to happen? Go to the next screen, right? So I click all the way down here under the third one, and I just select next frame. Okay? So let's run our game. So there we go. Now lose 1, 2, 3. There it goes. It goes to the last frame. That's what we want. Okay, now another thing I want to do is every time it hits an ice cube, I want it to make a sound. So I'm going to right click under sound and I'm going to go sample, play sample. So now I'm going to go over here from a file and click browse. Now it might automatically take you to sounds, but if not, you might have to navigate to it. So I just click game design here. I go into sounds, once again into the sound folder, and I compare the sounds. Here's ice snap. Wow, here's ice chime. I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to click open. So now I got a sound happen every time it hits the ice cube. Okay? So now we're going to go to the end backdrop. Click it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set the high scores up here. So I'm going to do insert, new object. I'm going to click on high score and click OK. Now click here. Now I want to change the color and size this up like you can. So I'm going to come over here to the A, and I can change the color here. And I might change this to Homa, right? So next thing I do is I choose the size. I want to set it a little bigger. And maybe I want to change my style, so I click OK. So if I want to make this bigger, I click this till I get the sizing handles on this, okay? And I can drag it out if I want to. Make it look a little better, perhaps. Here you go. And one last thing, if I want to have them play again, I might put a start button here. This is not a requirement. This is just if you want to do this. So I'm going to go into the event editor, view event editor, new condition, keyboard, rather the mouse, user clicks on an object, left button single click on this one, see, okay. So what I want to happen when the user clicks on the start button, I want them to restart the application. So I click under the storyboard editor right here. This is a horse on top of the chessboard. Right click, restart the application. There you go. So everything's all set. I save it. Now I go into my file. So here it pops up. Here's my icebreakers. That's what I turn into Miss Hadley right here. Now what if I want to share this game with a friend? How do I do that? Well, that's pretty easy. What I can do is I can go File, Build, Application. So I just click Save. Now I've got two things. I've got the icebreakers.exe and the icebreakers.mfa. The icebreakers to MFA is going to fit into your Dropbox. You're not going to be able to put the icebreakers.exe in your Dropbox. You'd have to zip that. Now I don't require you to submit it, but I just want to show you that it's there, okay? Alright, that's your game. If you have any questions, you can give me a call. And I'll see you next time.